Hey Janice, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. And how about yourself? You holding up okay?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm starting to get used to this whole video chat, video interview thing, and I'm finding it to be pretty easy. So
Uh-huh.
so to bring people, onto the air with us and that kind of stuff. It's great to get content. So it's so easy. I can see you're
Yeah.
sitting right in front of your bookcase.
Yes, this is my quarantine book stash that I've been amassing all my life, waiting for this very moment.
Well, you have plenty of time right now to read it. Maybe,
Yes,
maybe.
yes, yes,
So,
indeed.
so you worked for the Hartford Current Community for some time,
Yeah,
and you are now retired. Is that
yes,
okay? So,
yes.
how's
I
retirement
retired
going
at
for you?
retirement is going well. I'm not really appreciably less busy. It's just that my days are filled with different stuff this time. I will admit that every time I drive past the high school, I get a little pang thinking, oh man, this is the weekend they're doing the ECC fencing tournament. This is the first year in 10 years that I missed the ECC fencing tournament.
You could have gone as a spectator.
I could have, but I had other stuff going on that day. So
Well, I
yeah.
asked this is an old story, and I'm going to mention it, and if he hears this, he's probably going to roll his eyes. But I remember asking Terry Sumner 20 some odd years ago at a parking lot in Lisbon. So I had just seen him one day, and he had just retired. And he said to me, I said, "Well, how do you?" I said, "Do you have a lot of time on your hands?" And he said, "Mike," he goes, "Now that I'm retired, I'm busier than ever, and I didn't
Yeah.
even know that I had time to go to work."
Yeah,
So
yeah. I can completely identify with that. The reason I retired early was our family business, Steinhagen Pottery, had kind of um, it had grown to the point where it was really a struggle to do the juggling, and and taking the part-time job as a reporter out of that mix really it did a lot for my mental health. And yeah, and physical health too. I mean, it just, I have a little more time to um, do things that still feel positive. I still feel like I'm making a contribution. So yeah.
so are you? I mean, are you looking to get into it once in a while, or are you? Do you get the hunger?
No, I have to say, I had planned to retire in November. I retired a little earlier than I initially intended to, partly because of scheduling for our business events. And what I do miss is the excuse to go out and meet new people. That was something that I always enjoyed about what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the drudge work of sitting in front of a computer and pounding out stories, and then going through all kinds of machinations to upload them to a website, that part was less interesting. Well, not, I can't say less interesting. It was more like work. But the interviews were more like fun, and that part I miss. But I still bump into people all the time, who I know from various ways of having covered this town or other towns. And that's really, it's gratifying. And of course, that's all stopped now. So but the wonderful thing about what I'm doing now with this project is that I feel like I'm kind of using all those resources, all those sources that I had for stories, Brian Lanou and Ryan Aubin and you and other people, Ray Churchill. I've been tapping all these sources and using those sources to kind of, to spread the word, to access more resources for this project and feel like I'm making some kind of a difference, and that everybody involved in this is making some kind of a difference in this situation right now.
So,
So
so speaking of projects, you have
yeah,
one going on right now,
yeah,
and it's a Facebook group. It's called Griswold, Connecticut Masks for Heroes.
yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, what I was seeing, I still belong to a lot of local town Facebook pages, like community forums for Sterling and Voluntown and Griswold and Plainfield and, towns I'd been covering. And what I was seeing, I was seeing the same questions being asked. I'm sewing masks for healthcare workers. I'm out of elastic. Walmart doesn't have any. Joanne doesn't have any. Michael's is out. Does anybody have any elastic? Um, and I was seeing other people saying, I work in a nursing home, or I work in home health care, or I belong to a fire department. Who's making masks? How can I get some of the masks? And I thought, well, let's link these people together and let's do some research. Let's find out what we can do to get the materials to people who need them, and then get the finished masks off to the people who really need them. And I'll tell you, um, I should say at the outset that these homemade hand-sewn masks are not the N95s. They are not the gold standard. They are not, they will not, despite our best efforts, will probably not provide the level of protection that these people really need if they're working directly with COVID-19 patients. However, if you work in home health care and you're working with people who are vulnerable, you want something to protect yourself as well as them. And it doesn't have to be the gold standard. In a situation like this where there is a nationwide shortage, anything, people, I mean, I'm hearing from healthcare providers and they're saying anything, we just need anything. I was issued the last mask in my facility and I was told to make it last for 5 days.
Hmm.
These things are supposed to be disposable. Okay.
Well, not only that, but I heard it from NYU and a couple of other different organizations that they're now telling people to take the masks and throw them in a bucket, and then they're going to
Yeah.
go ahead and repurpose them, and then they're going to recycle them, which some of the healthcare workers are like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's got to be terrifying for them. And I have a stake in this process myself. My son's in the Coast Guard. He's a corpsman, meaning that he's a healthcare worker. His rate is health services technologist, and so he's on the front lines in this too. He works in a clinic in California at a Coast Guard training center, and they've had a case there, at least one. And they're in pretty close quarters. They've got barracks, they've got people who are living in dorm-like conditions. And, we all know that that kind of living arrangement can be a breeding ground, which is why all the colleges are now going online with Zoom and doing their courses online, like my daughter. So,
And us.
yeah, exactly. So, I can sew. I've been a seamstress, for a better part of my life. And I know a lot of other people who do. And I thought, well, if this works, if this is helpful, if this can go at least part of the way toward solving this problem and getting people at least some level of protection, even if it's just, if we can use these handmade masks in like situations like home health care or nursing homes, where the virus isn't necessarily there, we don't necessarily have patients, but this way the N95s can be targeted, can be channeled, funneled to the people who really desperately need them the most. And this is like the stopgap measure. I'm all for that. That's
Now,
my feeling.
who else? Now you're a seamstress and you're doing some of the sewing. I mean, are you finding other people in the group
Oh yeah,
sew as well?
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah, we as of this morning, we had almost 60 members, and this is
wow.
a group that we started on Saturday, and a lot of them are seamstresses. A lot of them are healthcare professionals, and I have if you go to the page at the very top under the picture of these Coast Guard face masks. All
Ooh, look at
right,
this
there's a picture.
snazzy.
Yeah, I know. We protect,
My
literally and
goodness.
figuratively. So if you go under that picture on the Facebook page, on the right-hand side, there's a tab that says um, uh, topics of interest or posts of interest or posts of something like that. And there are two tabs under that. One says resources for mask makers, and the other one says where masks are needed. So where masks are needed, people are invited if their fire department or their nursing home or their home health facility or their cousin who works at Bacchus or their niece who works for Hartford Healthcare. They're welcome to post what they need, how many they need, and their contact information under that tab. And that way, as people make them, they can contact them directly and get them immediately to where they belong. The resources for mask makers is helping to get more fabric and elastic through the pipeline. And, one of the weird things about this situation right now is that there's a nationwide shortage of elastic because people who sew are
I
making
wouldn't even have thought that.
reusable face masks. Yeah, who would have thought? But for a while, Joanne Fabrics, and I think the one in Norwich was participating, but Joanne Fabrics all across the nation were handing out kits, with the pre-cut masks and elastic and directions. And they stopped doing that because they ran out of elastic. So it's all on back order. God knows, how long it'll be. But we were brainstorming. Eric and I were brainstorming, and I said, I wonder about the fabric stall in the Slater Mill Mall. There's a woman there named Flo White. She lives in Plainfield, and she runs a little stall, and she sells like remaindered remnants and fabric trims by the yard and sewing notions. And so I asked on one of the Facebook pages, does anybody know how to contact her? She's not on Facebook. I got her phone number. I called her up. I told her what was going on. And since she's not on Facebook, she was unaware of this issue, this problem, and this dearth of elastic. She said, well, I can't get into the mall because it's closed, but I do have a warehouse here at my house. Turns out it's her two-car garage, okay? So God love her, this woman went into her garage and dug around, and she came up with this big box that was packed with elastic. Now this is it's weird stuff. It's not the stuff most seamstresses are used to using. It's this sort of rubbery bands that you would see on, say, swim goggles or on the commercial N95 masks. There's no cloth involved in it. It's just like a rubber band.
Elastic.
But it's yards and yards and yards and yards and yards and yards of it.
So you should have plenty for now, at least.
For now, okay. I will say that since Saturday, I started the group on Saturday, and I acquired the elastic, I want to say on Friday, and I have gone through about half of the box. But what I'm doing is packaging it up in baggies, and you can get in touch with me on Facebook, make arrangements to come pick it up at my house. If you really want to be fastidious about social distancing, I'll leave it in a basket on the stone wall outside my door. And I have at this point, I've gone about halfway through that box. I have no idea how many yards is in there, but and I'll tell you, and Flo, God love her, she just handed the box to me and said, if it'll help, just take it. So that's fanned out over probably a dozen and a half different seamstresses who are all using it to make masks. The other source I was able to come up with is somebody who came to pick up elastic mentioned in passing that she thought there was an elastics manufacturer in Fall River. So I took a chance and called them, and I got the owner. The owner picked up the phone, and he said he's stepped up his production because he's aware of this dearth of this lack of elastic, and he's going to have 1,000 yards available for me starting on Monday. I'm going to go up and pick it up on Monday. So that should be helpful. That will hopefully pick up where this box of elastic leaves off, and we'll get some more supplies to people who are sewing as fast as they can.
Did the group just come up on the screen?
Yeah, I am seeing, we're in a corner now, and but I can still see both of us.
Okay,
yeah.
But the group is on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, this is kind of new for me. doing this
Yeah,
thing.
me
So
too. Me too. I was kind of saying I wish my daughter was here because she's been doing this for the last 2 weeks now on Zoom, doing her online coursework.
now that one, that mask that I'm pointing to right here.
Yeah.
Now, is that the one you just showed us, or no? That
Yes, that's
okay.
the style that I just showed you. I have the other resource I have on resources for mask makers is there is there are probably about 4 or 5 different patterns of masks that are available, and some of them are the ones I've been making are more shaped. They're a little more time consuming. They have a pocket for an insertable additional filter, and I've actually been cobbling those together from allergen grade vacuum cleaner bags. Yeah, that's actually a better picture. That one's made with ties rather than elastic, and apparently that also works. You can tie them like behind your head, like in the old doctor movies from the 60s. You
Gotcha.
know, the surgeons would tie those things up and put them on.
So there's
But
there's
there
that
are
box of
also much
elastic, right?
simpler. There's the box of elastic, yeah, yeah. It's a little lower down. The level's a little lower than that, but I'll tell you, that thing weighed a ton. I brought it in the house. But I'm really glad that we're able to and please anybody out there who's listening, when you get a chance and this and that happy day comes that the flea market at Slater Mill is opened up again, please take a minute to stop at Flo White's fabric booth and tell her thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, how many people you have helped thanks to your generosity.
Now, are you when you make the masks? I mean, obviously, it takes some time. It takes
Yeah,
resources.
yeah.
Are you guys charging for these, or what are you doing?
No, no. And that's one of the rules of my group. I've been very adamant. We are not charging. These people are valiant in my estimation. These healthcare workers are putting their own lives and the health of their families on the line on a daily basis, and the least we can do is give them some level of protection. I'd never charge one of the healthcare workers. Now, I will say that I'm also not charging people for supplies. I don't want to do that. But the guy in Fall River who is producing the elastic, I asked him about cost, and he told me he was asking for $40 for 1,000 yards of, was it 1,000 yards? 1,300 yards of elastic. I'm willing to pay that out of pocket if anybody would like to make a donation towards that. If they can't sew, but they want to help in some way and are willing to help defray the cost of elastic, which would then be disseminated to as many people as want to take it and feel they can use it, that's fine with me. I would welcome that, but I'm not, this is an emergency, and whatever people can do out of the goodness of their hearts, as far as I'm concerned, is a gift.
So if people don't know how to sew, like I don't know how to sew, um, how else? I mean, other than making donations, let's say if because right now money is tight with a lot of people. There's a lot of people, a lot of work, of course, because of the virus and all. What other things can they do to contribute to the program?
Right. If they know somebody in their family who can sew, or among their circle of friends,
So
if they
networking a little bit.
have that little cookie tin from their, sorry,
So networking a
if
little
they
bit.
have that. Yeah, exactly. Using the, what you have available. If you have that old cookie tin from your Aunt Millie that had all her buttons and thread and sewing notions in it, take a look in there, because if there's some elastic, I'm telling you, narrow elastic, like a quarter of an inch or so in thickness or width, it's like gold out there. It takes only about 12 inches of elastic to make a mask. So every little bit will be helpful. Thread would also be useful. What I'm finding is that there's not really a lack of fabric. Most people I know who sew tend to be
Have
kind of
fabric.
acquisitive, and they have their own little stash, and people are kind of mining their stashes right now. Um, so I'm not hearing that there's a real lack of fabric. It's more the notions. Oh, and the other thing, um, we're hearing that the wire, the little wire on these things at the top is really important because that gives you a good seal around your nose. Okay. And people have been jerry-rigging all kinds of solutions for that issue. People are using pipe cleaners, or what I have been using is twist tie that comes in a roll. It's used for gardening. I actually got some at Bronson's the other day. It's green. It's got like a plastic coating, which I think will help it hold up better through washing, repeated washing. And I'm cutting a doubled length of that, twisting it together to make the wire. So if, you know, anybody, if they're going, say, to Home Depot to pick up whatever supplies they might need, and they were willing to go in the gardening department and get a roll of that, that would be welcome for our mask makers too. And one other thing, unlikely but true, vacuum cleaner bags that
What?
are vacuum cleaner bags. Yes, yes. We're particularly looking for the ones that are rated for allergy filtration, HEPA rated, ideally, you know, because what that does is it's a filter that's designed to filter down to like 0.3 microns, which is pretty close to the size of that virus. Okay, these little tiny microscopic particles. So the mask that I've been making, the pattern I've been using, has a pocket, okay, that you can slide, and actually you can see the filter in here. I'm cutting out and forming these filters. They're shaped just like the masks, and they're slid into there. So that also creates like an additional layer of protection for when you're breathing in and out, that filters the air and hopefully filters some of the virus out of the air. So if you have a vacuum cleaner that takes bags, and you have a stash of extra bags, and I know that vacuum cleaner bags are kind of going the way of newspapers, dare I say, or dinosaurs. It's you know, it's kind of an old school technology, but we're just trying to do what we can. You know, none of this is the gold standard, like I said before. None of this is ideal, but since the situation is dire, we're trying to create a substitute that will at least offer some kind of protection to people. So if you can find some vacuum cleaner bags, if you can provide some twist tie and drop it off for me, and I can get it to people who need it. If you have elastic or fabric or thread, you know, that would all be welcome.
Now, there are lots of people on Facebook. However, the people on Facebook, they have to realize not everybody's on Facebook.
Right, right.
So how would they, if they want to participate in the program, how would they reach out to you other than using the Facebook method?
Well, they are welcome to email me, and my email address is Steinhagen7, STEINHAGEN, numeral 7, at AOL.com. And if
At
they're really, really
AOL?
old, yes, AOL.com. And if they're really, really old school and don't have a computer, they are welcome to call me. I'm at 860-376-3329. And you're welcome to call and make an arrangement to either pick up, drop off. You know, if you have needs, if you say work in a nursing facility and you want to acquire some masks for your staff, you are welcome to leave me a message with the information, and I'll get that up on the site. The site is meant to be really kind of a clearinghouse, and like I said, sort of connecting the missing links in the chain so that people who are making masks have what they need to do it, and the people who need the masks can get them from those who are making them. And the other thing I should mention is that this effort, we're trying to keep the focus within a 50-mile radius of Griswold, okay, which includes obviously Bacchus Hospital and you know, L&M. It includes facilities just over the border in Rhode Island. And just so it doesn't get crazy, I'm trying to create some sort of a standard so that we're keeping the local resources. People know that what they're making is going somewhere to somebody who could be taking care of them down the road, for all we know.
Gotcha. Janice, thank you. Well, you know what? Actually, I have one more question. Like, how many masks are you guys have you guys put out so far, and how fast can you make them?
Well, different. Now, that's an interesting question. In terms of how fast you can churn them out,
Because I don't really
different.
know how many people you have. I mean, I know you have 60 people in the group, but how many
Right, and
people are
not all
actually
of them
making
are
them?
full. Yeah, well, I will tell you that at least 15 people have come to my house to pick up elastic. And some of them are using it themselves, and some of them are handing it off to other people who sew. Um, uh, I do know of one woman who so far has made 100 masks in the last,
Wow.
probably in the last week. This was, she started before we began the group. Um, and I personally have in between life as we know it and coordinating this group, I've put out about 24 myself, and they've actually all gone. Those masks have gone into boxes to be sent to various Coast Guard stations. I
Yeah.
just put a box in the mail yesterday to Kodiak, Alaska, to the clinic at the air station up there. But from here on in, I'm going to be working for local people. And actually, Eric was telling me that that I should make an inquiry on the Facebook page, asking people to let me know how many masks they've made, so that we can kind of keep a running count.
You have an
Because I think,
inventory.
yeah, and I think that would be encouraging for everybody to know that this is how many masks have been made by folks in our local area who are trying to channel them to
Or
healthcare workers. And
or even maybe when they complete masks, they could maybe bring them to your house. If you're doing the shipping, are you doing the shipping yourself, or is everybody?
what I'm trying to do is eliminate as much middleman stuff as possible for health reasons, if for no other reason,
Mhm.
um, and also for expediency. So what I've been asking people to do is, as you finish masks, go to that list on the tab that says where masks are needed, and contact somebody. Like for example, I got a request yesterday from somebody from the Warregan Fire Department. They said they need a dozen masks for their EMTs. So, if you've made a dozen masks and you want to know where to send them, you could get in touch with him directly, figure out how you're going to get them to him, drop them off, leave them at the firehouse. Maybe one of the firemen comes pick them up, whatever. You guys figure that out. I'm just trying to be the connecting point and allow other people to, I think it's more efficient for them to try and do that directly, rather than me, having to go through another household in the process,
Right.
because that, only makes it more complicated. So, um,
Anything else you want to
yeah.
add, or?
I want to say thank you. It's been a joy to see how many people out there are so eager to help. Um, and it's also been a joy to take a skill that, has always been a fun and practical skill that I've had all my life. And, I'm not a healthcare worker. I can't go to an emergency room and deal with people, but I feel like I have a toe in the door,
Yeah.
because something that I've made is helping them. And it's like we learned in catechism at school, there are many gifts but the same spirit. And if we really are all in this together, everything that you have, all the talents that you have, can find a way to be helpful to somebody else in some utterly unexpected
Right.
way. So there you are.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you doing this to get the word out. And again, people are welcome to call me. I'm in the phone book. I'm on White Pages, but or email me or message me on the group, and we're just do what we can to keep this pipeline rolling.
All right. Thank you very much, and good luck. What's the name of the Facebook group again?
It is Griswold CT Masks for Heroes, and they are heroes in my book.
Well, Janice, you're my hero.
Thanks, Mike. You're a peach. You're a peach.
Thank you very much for joining me on this.
Okay, and we are going to share a really, really, really big actual reality hug at some point when this is all over, right? Right.
Yeah, you too, Eric.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Eric. Whoa! I almost broke another microphone.
No,
I
no.
already, I already smashed one today. Oh my God.
Ay, ay.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.